Right, so we're talking about the exam, and I mentioned as long as your circle touches the mistake, I give you points, and that every point has, most points have more than one correct answer. The first one, this should be arrived. The second one, this should be bored. The third one, this might is extra. Might means maybe this is something that has already happened. So there's no reason to say might. People who corrected this to may got it wrong. If you said he had put, that is correct. Also, the word put is the same in the past tense as the present tense. Put. And in past perfect, put. So you actually don't need a word here. But if you put had, I also counted that. Line 4, past tense. Had removed, or you can just take out the word has. You can say he removed. Both are fine. I believe someone said he was removing. That also counts, as long as it's in the past tense. So in line 3, you can also say he was putting. Line 5, struggling. After a noun, right? After dinner. Dinner is a noun. So here you have to have a noun. So we turn the verb struggle into the gerund 动名词 struggling. You can also say after having struggled. This would be taking the perfect aspect, have struggled, and turning it into a gerund, having struggled. Number 6. The correct answer is was to put. But if you said was putting, I also counted that. The point is that the word put has to be a noun. The solution is a noun. Putting is a gerund, gerund is a noun. To put is an infinitive, and that is also a noun. To put is better because at this point, when he's talking about his story, he has just found the solution. He has not yet actually done the solution. So he's going to do it. It's an expectation. So to put is the best answer. But I also took pudding. Not the dessert, right? Putting. Number 7. Again, past tense. As I was pulling. I also accepted as I pulled. I did not accept as I had pulled because as means this is currently happening. So you cannot use a perfect aspect because perfect means you have finished. Number 8, lost. L-O-S-T. Lose, lost, lost. You can also say I had lost my grip. That also counted as long as you spelled the word lost correctly. Number 9. This should also be in the past, not will run. Ran, had run, was running are all acceptable. The best answer is simple past, ran. Because this is the last sentence in his story, there is no need to connect it with something that happened next. So simple past is the best answer, but I will also accept had ran or was running. Line 10, this should be let. doctors want to help you. You don't have to force them to help you. You simply have to allow them to help you, to let the doctors take the magnets out. Questions? The highest score was 30 points. The highest score in this class was 29 points. So the final exam will follow the same format, just with different concepts. So if you are struggling with this kind of question, now you know how to prepare. And I hope you see how each week's practice is helping you to prepare for the exams. And I also hope you can see how these exams are helping you prepare to be a better writer in your writing class. Everyone makes mistakes, including me. The important thing is to catch your mistakes. Okay, so if you don't have questions, let's move on to this week's unit. Here. We're finally getting into nouns. Yes, we have finally finished with verbs. It took us 8 weeks, but we finally got through verbs. Nouns will be faster. In English, you have two kinds of nouns, countable and uncountable. This can seem quite strange if you are not used to it, because first of all, in Chinese, we don't have this division. But secondly, if you really think about it, everything is really, if you really want to, everything is countable. So what does it mean for a noun to be uncountable? So let's talk about uncountable first. Countable is kind of the default, right? So uncountable is the special situation. If you understand the special situation, then everything else is countable. So what is uncountable? A simple way to remember this is if you stop and try to count it, it seems kind of ridiculous. So like water. If you want, you can count like individual drops of water, but why would you want to do that? Sand. If you want, you can count each little grain of sand, but again, why would you want to do that? So if it seems kind of ridiculous, it's probably uncountable. Hair. You can count individual strands of hair. It's going to take you a while, but you can if you want to. Money. You can count money, but usually we count the number of money. We don't count money itself, right? You have $1, you have $5. You don't say you have 5 monies, right? You have a unit and you have a number, but we don't count the word money. But this rule stops working if you think too hard about it. So candy. Candy is incredibly countable. Um, unless you are a little kid in Halloween who has too much of it, then it's hard to count. But English doesn't count the word candy. So what's really going on here? It turns out that this is another one of those English language logic things. If it is uncountable, that means that in English, we think about this thing in the abstract. We don't think about individually how many things. We think about this thing as a kind of thing. Candy is a kind of snack. Money is a kind of medium for exchange. Hair, water, sand are kinds of materials. Okay, but then that leads to a bigger question. Can't you do this with anything? Like, yes, you can count 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, but you can also think of cars as a kind of vehicle, right? Yes. So in fact, whether something is countable or uncountable does not depend on the thing. It depends on how are you using it. When we say things like, I go to work by car, the word car is uncountable. It is a type of transportation. It is an abstract category. If you say, uh, the international bank deals in many different monies. Look, Microsoft recognizes this word, monies. Then it becomes countable because you are counting different types of money belonging to different countries. So in fact, um, whether something is countable or not depends on the logic in that sentence that you're reading. Is the sentence using it as a concrete noun that you can actually point to, pick up, and think about individually? Or is the sentence talking about the thing as a kind of thing, as a category? So those are uncountable nouns. If you use an uncountable noun, it is always in the singular, 单数. We saw this earlier in the semester, right? So money is usually uncountable. Some money, singular, is real. Um, there is one exception. This is English. There will always be an exception. The police is uncountable. You can say one police officer, one police car, but the police as a group, as an organization, is uncountable. But they use the plural. The police are. This is the only exception in English. Okay, do you have questions about uncountable nouns? We're going to look at some practice questions later. Hopefully that will help clarify when to use a noun as uncountable. Let's take a closer look at countable nouns. In English, if something is countable, you have to decide how many are there. Is it one or is it not one? Not one does not mean many. Look, one car is singular, but 0 cars are. So if it is not one, then it is plural. How about 4/5? This would be 4/5 of the cars parked here are new. That makes sense, right? You have more than one car. But what about this? Um, 1/5 of the 5 cars parked here are new. What is 1/5 of 5? How many is that? It's 1, right? But you still use plural because 1/5 is not 1. If you do the math, yes, you are looking at one car. But according to the logic of the sentence, if your subject is not 1, it is always plural. 要我用中文讲一遍吗？就是 虽然你这一句所指涉的情境里面只有一台车，但是因为你的语言逻辑上面你的主词不是一，所以你必须要用复数。Does that help? Okay, good. So those are the usual situations. And then we have groups. And this is where we get the idea of the police, right? You have the young, which means young people. So the group of people that are young. So you can also, so this is like using the plus an adjective to create a group. So like the, give me an adjective that is not a color. Uh, Again, I'm really hard I'm really bad at coming up with examples. Um, the, oh, okay. So attentive means people who pay attention. They pay attention, they are attentive. So you use an adjective plus the to create a group of people. Usually, so there's one interesting example here. Old people, you can say, you have to pronounce this the aged. You have to pronounce the E, the aged. Other words like this, winged, which means has wings. And there's another one that I can't remember. There are three of them. If I remember, I'll tell you. But aged is the most common. Now, this kind of sentence structure can be politically sensitive. We usually don't like to group together people of certain identities like this because it implies that everybody in this group is the same. So let's give some bad examples. And I want to make sure you know that these are bad examples. Right? So if you say, oh, the black or the black, if you like, you want to add an S, right? The blacks or the gays. This is usually not a good thing to do because it seems to imply that every black person is the same or every gay person is the same. And so whatever you say becomes a stereotype or becomes an overgeneralization. 过度引申. And if you say something negative, then it's even worse. It becomes discriminatory, 歧视. So usually we don't do that. Again, everything in English has an exception. So uh, gay people sometimes say the gays as a joke when they're talking about other gay people or like gay culture, gay stereotypes. Um, this kind of problematic language is often used by older people or people who don't really care about um, offending other people. And so gay people sometimes will pretend like they are talking as if they are one of those people as a joke, but never in a serious way. So that's the one exception. So those are countable and uncountable nouns. If you use the singular, okay, I should say this. If you use a countable noun, the rule is there has to be something in front or something behind. Um, so the something in front could be a or an. The something behind is either is probably s. You have to choose one of these. If you know logic, the V symbol means choose one. Why am I using logic? If you throw a word out there with nothing in front and nothing behind, it is uncountable. Um, so to use the example I just mentioned, we took we took a car to work. In this case, car is countable because you have this in front. We took cars to work, saying that you took more than one car. This is unusual, but it is grammatical. There is something behind, so this is still countable. But if you say we went to work by car, there is no a or an, there is no s, so this use of car is uncountable. You will notice that I have not mentioned one word that you are probably thinking of. Using the word the is not related to whether a word is countable or uncountable. It is not related to whether a word is countable or uncountable. This is very important. You can say the plus uncountable. The hair on my head. Hair is uncountable. The cars in the street. Cars are countable. The word the is not related to whether a word is countable or not. We will talk about the word the next week. That's how big and complicated this word is. It needs a whole week to itself. For now, if we're only talking about countable or uncountable, don't worry about the word the. Okay, so those are the countable and uncountable nouns. In English, every noun is either used as countable or uncountable. You have to choose. If you write a noun, you must choose. Is it countable or uncountable? And so this is how to decide. Or you can say this is what it means for a word to be countable or uncountable. Questions? Okay, let's look at the handout. New handout, new questions. Here we go again. Page 1, please determine if the nouns should be plural or not. If they should not be plural, that means they could either be countable and singular, 单数, or they could be uncountable. Every noun. 9 questions. I will give you 4 minutes. Number 1 has been done for you. Number 2, airplane seats are narrow and uncomfortable. Number 3, science students do laboratory experiments. There's nothing in front, right? You can say that they all collectively do one laboratory experiment, but I think that's less likely. It's more likely that they divide into small groups and each group does an experiment, so there's more than one experiment. 4, houseflies are, you can say dangerous pests, you can say a dangerous pest, as in a kind of pest, a dangerous pest. They carry germs. I'm pretty sure they carry more than one germ. 5. So this could be a computer or computers, but the next sentence begins with they. So this must be computers. Now, this could be human operators or a human operator. If you say a human operator, that means each computer needs a human operator. Think about this logically. If each computer needs more than one human operator, then you would have to say computers, operators, plural, plural. If you have only one computer and you have and each computer only needs one human operator, then you would say a computer, a human operator, singular, singular. No problem. But what if you have one computer and the computer needs more than one human operator? Then it seems like you would say a computer, human operators. So those are the three possible logical combinations, right? Singular, singular, plural, plural, singular, plural, if each computer needs multiple people. But this sentence begins with a plural, they. So if it begins with a plural, what do? We have already used up all of the logical situations. So if this is plural also, human operators, it could mean each computer needs one human operator, or each computer needs, and there are many computers, or each computer needs multiple human operators. It could mean both. So if you want to specify that each computer only needs one human operator, and you begin with the plural, then the best answer is to use singular, a human operator. But technically, if you want to say plural human operators, that is also acceptable. I just will have poor judgment of your logic. 6, so many different kinds of flower or flowers. If you say flowers, then you're thinking about countable individual flowers. If you say flower, singular, you are using the word flower as an uncountable category. It's a kind of plant. So either one is fine, but you have to know the logic behind your choice. In the world, just the world, singular. 7, newspaper reporters have, again, a high pressure job or high pressure jobs. Depends on whether you want to emphasize the shared responsibilities that each reporter has to do, the kind of job that they all have to do, or if you want to emphasize that each reporter has his or her own job and that they are all high pressure. So according to the grammar, Both are fine. It's a question of emphasis. 8. Good telephone manners are important. The word manners, as in the polite thing to do, is usually plural. The word manner, singular, does exist, but it usually means your behavior this one time. So like, and usually we attach an adjective to it. So for example, what am I doing? For example, he behaved in a very strange manner, which just means strangely. So this is one time, right? Behaved, past tense. So we're talking about something that happened in the past. And at this one time, in this one time, this person behaved strangely in a very strange manner, singular. But if you're talking about the polite thing to do, that should be every time, right? You should always be polite. So manners as politeness is usually plural. Manner has a few other uses. For example, doctor's bedside manner is how a doctor communicates with their patients. Doctors can be great at figuring out what's wrong with you and how to cure you, but they can be terrible at talking to you. So this is bedside manner. And then uh, manner can sometimes mean way. So like uh, the manner in which something happens. So just means the way in which something happens or the way that something happens. Let's finish the last two and then we'll take a short break. I bought 2 theater tickets for Thursday evening's performance, one performance of A Doll's House. Theater this is the British spelling. Today we spell it T-E-R. This is an older textbook. American English also used to spell it this way. No more. Number 10, our daily lives, because the next word is have. Lives have changed in many ways in the past 100 years. We no longer need to use, you can say oil lamps or candles, or you can say an oil lamp or candle, or a candle. An oil lamp or a candle. It's 2 words, right? Un and a are 2 words. So you can't omit the a. In our house, this is probably singular, but you can also say houses if you want. Raise our own chickens. If you say singular chicken, that's talking about food. If you're talking about animals, uh, then it's countable, chickens. Or build a daily fire. This should be singular because you should only have one fire per day for cooking. So daily tells you this is a daily fire. Although again, if you want to use plural, many people build many daily fires. That also works. But I think it's the worst choice. No, not the worst. A worse choice. Microsoft, whatever. Okay, let's take a break. Guys, during the break, please finish the rest of this page. Okay, let's continue. Second half of this page. Same thing. Check if the nouns should be singular or plural. Number 2, have. So this must be boxes. 6. So this must be sides. Number 3, have. So this must be cities. Many. So this must be problems. 4, row does not end with an S. So this must be bananas. Area. I'm pretty sure bananas grow in more than just one area on Earth. So this should be plural, areas. If I am wrong about bananas, please tell me. 5, don't. So this must be insects. Sorry, have also. Don't have. Both of them tell you it's plural. Insects don't have. This one, you could do singular or plural. Insects don't have a nose. Each individual insect does not have a nose. Or you can say all of these insects don't have noses. So singular or plural is fine, but you have to know why you are choosing the one that you choose. 6, are. So this should be plural, lambs. Offspring is uncountable. So it's always singular. Sheep is countable, but the singular and the plural look exactly the same. Sheep, sheep. Same thing for fish. Fish is countable, but the singular and plural are the same. Fish, fish. So it doesn't matter. Although the word fish, you can also count the uncountable fishes, as in types of fish, but that's less common. 7, keep does not end with S, so this should be libraries. I'm pretty sure you need more than one book to be a library, so this should be books. And I'm pretty sure you need more than one shelf. If you know of a library with only one shelf, please tell me. But if we don't have any, this should be shelves. If you do see a library with only one shelf, this should be on a shelf. 8, support does not end with S, so this should be parents. Child could be singular or plural, depending on if you're talking about all children or if you're talking about how every child is supported by its parents. 9, Indonesia is singular. There's only one Indonesia. And also has, so this is singular. Several, so this is plural. Volcanoes. Notice the spelling, OES. 10, are, so this is baboons. You can say big monkeys, as in like every baboon you see will look like a big monkey. Or you can say a big monkey, as in this type of animal is a big monkey. Um, large head, again, you can say heads as in every baboon, or a head as in this type of animal, the baboon. But this has to be teeth. Even just one baboon has more than one tooth. So sharp teeth. And then these 4 can be plural, leaves, roots, insects, and eggs. Or if you want to treat these words as food material, last period we mentioned if you use the word chicken to mean a kind of meat, then it is uncountable. If you use these four words as a kind of food material, then they would be uncountable. Singular. Okay, questions about this page? Moving on, next page. Same thing. Now there is an additional limitation. It says, do not change any other words. So you cannot add words. You cannot add a and. You cannot add a or an. Another 9. I'll give you 4 minutes. And if you have questions, feel free to discuss with your classmates. Okay, let's take a look. Number 2, hatch, not hatches. So this must be birds, plural. you cannot add the word a or n, so this has to be eggs, plural. Right? It says don't change any other words. So birds hatch from eggs. 3, stay. So baby birds stay in their nest or nests if you want for several weeks or months. Their parent. Okay, so I don't know a lot about birds, but if only one parent feeds the birds, like if only the mother bird feeds the birds, this could be singular. Oh, sorry, no, it says feed. So this has to be plural, parents. Their parents feed them until they can fly. 4, people eat chicken eggs. Some animals eat bird eggs. 5, foxes and snakes are natural enemies of birds. They eat birds and their eggs. So like if you wanted to treat bird as a kind of food material, you could, except the pronoun is plural, so it has to be birds. And I'm pretty sure there are no birds that only lay one egg, right? Every bird lays at least 2 eggs, right? So it has to be eggs, plural. 6, some birds eat only, okay, singular or plural, seed and plant or seeds and plants, either as objects or as kinds of food material. Other birds eat mainly, uh, same thing, insect and earthworm or insects and earthworms. 7, weeds are unwanted plants. They prevent farm crops and garden flowers from growing properly. Birds help farmers by eating. Uh, in this case, you do have to use plural. Weed seeds and harmful insects. Because the emphasis of this sentence is not talking about what do birds eat, like what kind of food material do they eat. It's talking about birds helping farmers get rid of weeds and insects. So we're talking about concrete, countable seeds and insects. 8, rats, rabbits, and mice, M-I-C-E, mice, can cause huge, I'm going to say losses. Loss singular is either you only lose one thing or you're losing money, which is also one thing. But in this case, it's talking about the different kinds of plants and crops that can be lost. So it's more than one kind of thing. Huge losses on farms by eating stored crops. Certain big birds, like hawks, help farmers by hunting these animals. 9, the feathers. If you're talking about a kind of thing, you can say feather singular, except the verb is are, so it has to be plural. The feathers of certain kinds of bird or birds are used in pillows and mattresses. The soft feathers from geese, the plural of goose is geese, And in this case, you have to use plural because a goose has more than one feather. I'm pretty sure when they make pillows using goose feather, they're not just taking one feather per goose. So this should be plural feathers. The soft feathers from geese are often used for pillows. Goose feather, uh, plural are. So goose feathers are also used in winter jackets. Now you might be thinking, why is it goose feathers and not geese feathers? Because we're talking about the kind of feather. So it should be uncountable. Goose feather. Um, like leather, piga. Are we talking about plastic leather or cow leather? We don't say cow's leather. Cow is an abstract kind of uh, source for this material. 10. The wing feathers from geese were used as pens from the 6th century to the 19th century when steel pens were invented. Questions about this page? Yes. Number 7. So you're saying why do these have to be plural? Is that the question? Okay, the whole thing. Okay. Weeds are unwanted plants. They prevent farm crops and garden flowers from growing properly. Birds help farmers by eating weed seeds and harmful insects. So why is the word weed here singular? For the same reason that the word goose here is singular. These are a kind of thing. Okay, other questions? Okay, next page. Interesting. Similar idea, 5 questions, but do not make any other changes. So you can only add S or ES, and it gives you a hint. How many words need to be plural? 6 questions, I'll give you 3 minutes. Okay, let's take a look. Number 2, 7 words have to be plural. Okay, let's count. Scientists divide living things into 2 groups, plants and animals. You know, these 2 could be singular, but the question wants 7, so these are now plural. Generally speaking, plants stay in one place, but animals move around. Number 3, flowers, grass, and trees. Grass is usually uncountable. Grow every place where people live. Plants also grow in deserts, in oceans, on mountaintops, and in polar regions. That's 7. 4, 8 of them. Plants are useful to people. We eat them. We use them for clothing. We build houses from them. Plants are also important to our health. We get many kinds of beneficial drugs from plants. In addition, plants provide beauty and enjoyment to all our lives. So again, the word drug could be singular, except the question wants us to have 8 plurals. 5, crops are plants that people grow for food. Nature can ruin crops. Bad weather, such as too much rain or too little rain, can destroy fields of corn or wheat. Natural disasters, such as floods and storms, have caused farmers many problems since people first began to grow their own food. Is that 9? Yeah, okay, thank you. Um, English teacher, not good at math. If you wanted to, you can change the word floods to flooding, which would be the uncountable version. Flooding. And number 6. Wow, 15 plurals. Cool. Food is a necessity for all living things. All animals and plants need to eat. Most plants take what they need through their roots and their leaves. The majority of insects live solely on plants. Many birds have a diet of worms and insects. Reptiles eat small animals, eggs, and insects. Please tell me that was 15. Okay, thank you. Questions about this page? Okay, next page, page 4. Same thing. Uh, do not change, add, or omit any other words. So you can only add s or es. That's it. 7 questions. I'll give you 3 minutes. Okay, let's take a look. Number 2. There are many occupations in the world. Doctors take care of sick people. Pilots fly airplanes. Farmers raise crops. Shepherds take care of sheep. This word is pronounced shepherd. It's a very interesting word, right? You can see the first half is related to sheep. The second half, herd, as a noun means groups, a group of sheep. As a verb, it means to organize the sheep, to manage the sheep. So a shepherd is someone who manages sheep. In Chinese, 牧羊人. Number 3, an architect designs buildings. So this forces you to use singular architect. So the verb has to end with S. Designs buildings. An archaeologist digs in the ground to find objects from past civilizations. 4. The first modern computers were developed in the 1930s and 1940s. Computers were not commercially available until the 1950s. 5. There are several factories in my hometown. The glass factory employs many people. So this sentence, the glass factory has to be singular. The logic is a little bit complicated. Let me try to explain. If there are several factories, there's more than one factory here. Just from this sentence, it is possible to say, oh, maybe some of these factories make the same thing. Maybe you have more than one glass factory. But when you say the glass factory, we're going to talk about this next week, but the word the singles out, or it sort of like frames one of the factories. So it has to be singular. The word the tells you there's only one glass factory. And why does it tell you this? We will talk about it next week. 6. Kangaroos are Australian animals. They are not found on any of the other continents except in zoos. 7. Mosquitoes are found everywhere in the world, including the Arctic. That's not good. So if I want to run away from mosquitoes, I can't even go to the North Pole? Okay. 8. At one time, many people believed that tomatoes were poisonous. Questions? By the way, the people who used to believe that tomatoes were poisonous, they were correct. Because in the old days, when you cut a tomato, you would use an iron knife, not a steel knife, 不是不锈钢, iron, 一般铁. And if tomatoes touch iron, it produces a poisonous substance. So they were right. The difference is now we have better knives. Okay, second half of this page. This is interesting. Only change the words in italics, 斜体, by adding s or es. And some of these sentences are correct. Some of them you do not have to change. 6 questions, 2 minutes. Okay, let's take a look. Number 2, advice is uncountable. If you want to count it, you have to say pieces of advice. You can also just use the word suggestions. So by the way, you'll notice the word advice is spelled with a CE. If you spell with an SE, that becomes a verb, advise, which means to give advice to someone. Number 3, water is uncountable. Uh, except in special situations, like if you want to say the waters of the waters of North America means the different bodies of water in North America, like lakes, ponds, rivers, that kind of thing. But usually water is uncountable. 4, luck is uncountable. You can think of it as a kind of material, like air. Luck is uncountable. Number 5, progress is uncountable. When we talk about progress, we are not talking about individual things that we have done. We are talking about the general movement of society through history. It's a very abstract idea. So progress is uncountable. Number 6, classes. Right? It says are, right? So it's plural, classes. Number 7, faxes. You guys know what a fax is? A fax in Chinese is 传真. So it's kind of like printing. It's a copy. It's a process where a, it's a copier, but you put in the copy here, and the copy gets printed out over there. And the distance could be as far away as you want. It uses a telephone line. 我在解释传真是什么. Fax is actually an abbreviation. The full word is facsimile. It's a noun. Facsimile means an identical reproduction. So the thing is reproduced or copied, and it is exactly the same, identical. Facsimile. So it's countable. Some faxes from our lawyer. Questions about this page? Okay, homework, page 5. That's it. Page 5 is 10 errors in subject-verb agreement. So maybe the verb needs an S or doesn't need an S. Maybe the noun needs an S or plural or does not need a plural, whatever. There are a total of 20 mistakes. 10 in subject-verb agreement, 10 in incorrect plural forms. So do that and then we'll talk about it next week. See you then.